Hello, my name is Peter Parfitt and welcome to the new Brit workshop. Well, I've finally done it. I've gone and got myself a proper writer table. This is the UJK Technology Professional Writer Table and I got it from Axminster Power Tools here in the UK. Now I've bought UJK Technology products before and you may recall that I did a review of their threaded guide bush set, which I thought were particularly good. And it was partly because of that I then looked closely at their writer table. Now I'm lucky enough that I live close enough to an Axminster Power Tools store that I could go and visit. And I was able to actually have a little sort of feel around of the UJK professional table, and that really did help in my decision. But my criteria for a writer table is as follows. I don't need to be able to take it anywhere away from base, so it doesn't need to be portable. But I do need to be able to move it around the workshop, so it's got to have some sort of wheels. It needs to be really accurate, and it had to be able to take one of my existing writers. Now, when you buy the professional writer table as a kit, these are the things that come with it. You get the leg stand assembly, which has mobility wheels associated with it. You get a professional fence, and you also get a top. Now, I've got the cast iron top. They also do a composite material phenolic and also a MDF top. I have the writer elevator here, but you could just have a straight mounting plate for your writer, which would be a cheaper option. I have the dust cabinet here, which is an option, and I've now fitted the NVR switch here. And you may want to look at my two videos where I show you how to go about assembling the professional writer table. And there's a third video where I show you a few tweaks where I've improved upon some of the things I'd done in the previous two videos. Well worth a watch, actually. Now, there are a couple of other extras that I've got. I've got the professional mitre fence here. I've got the various rings that one can get for the writer elevator. And I've also got a set of both horizontal and vertical featherboards, which certainly beat the old featherboard that I used to use on my homemade writer table. Now, the sort of work that I'll be doing on this writer table demands very accurate adjustment of the height of the cutter, and that's why I've gone for the writer elevator. With it, you're able to adjust the height up or down very easily, and there's a scale on here. One complete turn of this handle is 2 millimeters. And it's divided into 40 segments. And so each segment is a 20th of a millimeter. And that's one of the things I'll be checking in my accuracy tests in a minute. Now, also with the writer elevator, you've got the ability to change these step rings here, which allow you to use the appropriate size so that it will accommodate your cutter and also be the best size to support the wood. Now, one of the first checks that I want to do concerns the top. And what I want to do first is to check how flat it is. And I'm going to check in both that direction and that direction. And I'm going to do it in several places. Now, in order to do this, you need a good quality straight edge. And in my case, I thought that my steel rule would do, but actually it's not quite long enough. And so I'm turning to these straight edges. Now, if you have a straight edge, you need to first of all check that it's straight. So what I did was I put them together that way. That seemed all right. Then I put them together this way, and again, that's all right. So I'm going to use this one, and let's have a look to see if I can see any sign of any air. Absolutely none at all. Then at the back, and again, that's fine. So it's passed the first test completely satisfactorily. The next thing to do with the top is to look to see if the cast iron has any defects. Cheap quality cast iron sometimes has some little places on it where you can see this sort of granular effect where the casting process has not been terribly good, and when it's then been machined to make it flat, it's exposed some of those defects. And I've checked this out completely, even in the grooves here, absolutely no problem at all. Now, of course, the other thing with the writer table is you need to check that it's stable. and mine is perfectly stable when it's on a flat floor. And can it be moved easily? Well, yes it can. I use the mobility foot which I push down, and I can move it around to my heart's content. So the next task is to check the accuracy of the rise and fall mechanism on the Reiter elevator. This is calibrated such that one full turn is 2 millimeters. Let's see how accurate that is. I've positioned this so it's on a 0 mark there, and I'm going to measure the height to the top of this collet, and that is 41.3 millimeters. So let's now take this downwards, 9, 10. So that should now be 20 millimeters less. We started at 41.3, so we should be looking for 21.3. And that is 21.3. Now, it's not desperate for the overall performance of the table, but it is nice if the Reiter is at the center of the Reiter elevator. And I was able to make that happen, and you can see that that is a perfect fit. I'm just checking how square the mitre fence is to the table, and there's just a human hair's worth of difference there, and I'd have to change my name to Chippendale if I had to be worried about that. And this is one that Mr. Chippendale would be very pleased with. Absolutely spot on. Well, that's my first go using this Reiter table for some raised panel work, and you can see that's not looking too bad. A couple of old bits of scrap oak, and I'm very pleased with that. That's going to be good. Now let me just mention the dust collection arrangements. This is the hose for my dust extractor. It's 100 millimeters in diameter, and that's connected to the back of the dust extraction box. The box has this adapter as part of it, which allows part of the vacuum to go up to the back of the fence. So therefore you're getting extraction from both below and above the Reiter table. Now I think that's a really good idea, particularly as you only need a single connection to your extractor. Now with my homemade Reiter table that fitted on the end of the MFT3 workbench, I had two separate extractors running when I was using it, one above and one below. So this is a great improvement, really. Now the professional table with the cast iron top is £441.95. But I went further than that. I got the Reiter elevator. You could just get the straightforward mounting plate, but then that has the disadvantage of you having to adjust the height from underneath the table. And for me, accuracy was vital, hence the Reiter elevator. I also went a stage further and got the dust extraction box. I wasn't sure if it would be perfect, but it certainly works for me. And I also got the professional mitre fence. And I think this is an absolute must, because if you're going to do any serious work, like eventually doing some raised panel work, and here's some of the joints that I was demonstrating earlier, then you certainly need something as good as that. If you're on a budget, there are a number of options open to you. You could get a less expensive table, perhaps with the MDF top. But for me, there's a couple of key components that I just could not do without. One is the cast iron top, and the other is the Reiter elevator. With those basic things, I could do a reasonable amount. I could make up some sort of temporary fence arrangement and so on. But I would have to eventually, when I saved up, then buy the professional fence here and also the professional mitre fence. I think those 4 items altogether are essential, but you could do it in 2 stages. You can build your own legs. That will save you a bit of money. You can do without the dust extraction box. That will save you some money. But I think you really ought to get the NVR switch. I tried operating without it and then sent off for one from Axminster, and I'm really glad I did get one. Now, getting a professional Reiter table like this may seem like a big step, And I've heard some people say that, oh, for that money you can get yourself a spindle moulder. Well, I don't agree with that argument, I'm afraid, because if you add up the whole cost of everything that you've seen me demonstrate, that will not buy you a bottom-end spindle moulder of the quality to deliver the sort of cuts that you'll get with this. Now, I hope you have found from my 2 assembly videos just how easy it is to assemble this kit. I reckon if you're not making a video, between 2 and 4 hours is all you need to assemble the whole of the professional writer table. I then did the tweaks video really to highlight my own failure when I thought, well, my own screws would do for holding my writer in the writer elevator. In fact, I should have spent £2.50 and got the trend set of screws from Axminster, which I subsequently did. I also realized later, too late, that I should have had an NVR switch, so I had to place another order to get that. And so I hope the tweaks video will help. Now in this video, I've done everything I can to check this kit out. This professional writer table is definitely a professional quality item. It will easily stand the test of time in a professional workshop. And you needn't worry if you let the apprentice loose on it on a Friday afternoon. It will withstand that. It's been beautifully put together. It's nicely designed. My criticisms are fairly minor. I'm not a great fan of these holders on either side for the writer cutters, even though I'm using this one to help hold the bracket for the NVR switch. But in a professional shop, maybe you want everything together, and so that will be fine. The mobility wheel was a little bit tricky to set up, but now it is set up, it works fine. NVR switch, I really think you need one, so much so that it would be nice if Axminster provided it with the kit. Even though it's your router, your electrical item that's going in here, I think maybe that would be just a useful thing coming from them. The instructions, well, there were some minor errors in the instructions, but I spoke to the technical people at Axminster, and I bet you by the time you see this video, those errors have been corrected. Well, I'm absolutely convinced that I've made the right choice by choosing the UJK professional table for me. And I'm sure you won't go far wrong by doing the same. I think it's a beautiful bit of kit. I've got no hesitation whatsoever in recommending it to you. And I've got a list as long as your arm of the things that people want me to demonstrate on the writer table. So you're going to see a lot more of this. It's a great table. Thanks very much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.